Buckle up, everyone, and welcome to Carpool Rugby League, a show where three rugby league tragics took everything rugby league on your way to and from work. I'm Shano.
I am the chameleon.
And I'm Mika.
Welcome aboard, buckle up, on with the show. Guys, massive week of rugby league. There are teams that haves, there are teams that have nots. It's just been one of these whirlwind weeks of rugby league where you're watching games unfold. I know for me, I thought the first half an hour of the Parramatta Dragons game, I just went, "What is going on here?"
Yeah.
And then the last 10 minutes, you think, "Where was that earlier?" You've got the Raiders. And now the Roosters and their injury woes. Some people happy, some people not, I suppose. You have a top four and a bottom four that I think, you could almost now set your watch by. The Dolphins made mincemeat of the Broncos, so I don't know if Kevy's ever broken a promise, but there's one that he's definitely broken. I don't think the Broncos are going to make the finals.
I don't know if it was a promise.
Griffo, I know you're upset about that. Griff. Look,
I love watching that. I watched that game. Pretty much all of it. It was great.
Yeah, twice. Just it was something that was just a sight to behold, really. And look, and there were games in between. The Cowboys 38 over the Storm 30 kicked off Thursday night. I thought this was the game. If the Seagulls do go somewhat deep into this final series, I think this is the game they're going to talk about. This is the first game I've seen the Seagulls actually look like a team and play well. 34-22 over the Dogs. Panthers 34, Rabbitohs 12. That Panthers were just way too good, and the Rabbitohs, I think their Mad Monday could not come quick enough for them. Eels 44, Dragons 40, and what was a great defensive effort from both teams. Not. Dolphins.
I switched it off at half time, that one.
Oh, it was like with 20 to go, you're going, what's
okay.
Are the Dragons actually in the finals?
I switched it back on later on, and it was like 40-12 or something like that. So I switched it straight back off, and I saw the final score. I thought, okay, I missed a few tries. Apparently, that happened all in the last 10 minutes.
10 minutes, the Dragons remembered they were playing football. Dolphins 40 beat the Broncos 6. That's all but nail in the coffin for the Broncos. This is a game where I almost turned it off. Warriors 30, Sharks 28. They're getting their usual the September wobbles, I think we call them for the Sharks. Knights 36, Titans 14. In what was a really strange game to watch, and I think rounding out this round was the Raiders 14. Holding on to the Roosters 12. If you're a Roosters fan, Luke Keary's kick, you're very upset by. I think if you're the rest of Rugby League, you're pretty happy it missed. Elliot Whitehead knocked out for the rest of the season. He's played his last game in Raiders colours for sure. Roosters, they've got Walker will be out. Brandon Smith will be out. Victor Radley...
he's out.
Well, yeah, and the news coming out of Roosters camp is very cagey on Radley. Anything to do with the arm, shoulder, anything to do with sort of that region, you would think that it's 4 weeks minimum. I know they said it's a watch and it's sort of like not as bad. The way he went down, he'll be needled up significantly if he plays at all. So they're going into the finals, probably down 3 of their key troops. Griffo, what caught your eye this week?
Well, what caught my eye was a game that, out of the game that I watched only on the mini. I watched pretty much every game last weekend for pretty much all the game. But this one, I was out Saturday night. Trying to think where I was. Don't really remember. Doesn't really matter.
Good night.
But yeah, I do now. I remember. I was at an event at South Juniors.
End of the line now.
I didn't realise there were two South Juniors clubs. I went to the wrong one first.
Okay.
But eventually, anyway. So bottom line, I didn't see this game. On WhatsApp, one of my mates, he put the thing up the wires, and I thought, Warriors must have won. So I got home and I thought, I'll watch a minute. It was late when I got home. I thought, I can't stay up the whole 80 minutes. But, I saw Sean Johnson. He's what caught my eye this week.
Yeah.
Set up beautifully the first try. And I thought, okay, well done, Sean Johnson, last game in the NRL. And then it was just an avalanche of Sharks tries. And I think there might have also been some disallowed Sharks tries. I thought, okay, maybe he was just putting that to me because he wanted the Warriors to win. But anyway, then as it turned out, it was Warriors came back, Warriors kept coming, and then in the very last play of the game, in the very last play of his NRL career, Sean Johnson throws the magic pass out to DWZ and sends him over the line, and the Warriors come from a long way back to win that game. Sean Johnson, thank you for all the entertainment you have provided over the last decade or so. If you put together a highlights reel of Sean Johnson, it'd be up there, the equal of anyone else in the NRL. Now, he is a brilliant player, obviously not as consistent as some others, but he's definitely highlights reel, and that would be on there. What a fitting end to a great player's career. That's what caught my eye last week.
Watching that game, I just thought that was a bit of justice for him. Like, he's had a pretty, I don't want to say a horrible season, but it's been below Johnson par.
Deserved the Dally M last year.
Yeah, and to see him play that game and do what he did. I'm going to talk about the women's rugby league results in a minute, because I just want to stick with the men's game for just a quick tick. Mika, you concerned by the Sharks? Every year we see the Sharks wobble.
I don't think it's that Sharks are a good team. I think it's just that this season, no one else has been better than them. So I think they're middle class, but I think everyone else is lower than middle class. I think that's why they're up so high.
So more or less, it's this, like, I think you got some key teams up top.
I think the only key teams are Storm and Penrith.
Roosters not in that now? Injuries?
No, I don't think. Well, I never really thought Roosters would be in contention for. I knew they'd be in the finals, but I never thought they'd be in contention for the grand final.
2 weeks ago, I had them as my favourite.
I never had them as my favourite.
You're right. Okay.
I didn't pay that much attention to them.
Okay. So on the fringes of the 8,
I'm not writing them off.
I'm not writing them off either. I'm not writing them off. On the fringes of the 8, I'm gonna shout out 4 teams: Bulldogs, Cowboys, Seagulls, Dolphins. I'll start with you, Mika. Which 2 are making up the numbers and which 2 might go deep?
What is it?
Bulldogs, Cowboys, Seagulls, Dolphins. If this finishes as our top 8, what 2 are making up the numbers? What 2 are going to get punted week 1? What 2 might go deep?
Okay,
Or are they all making up the numbers?
Look, I would have...
The Dolphins are going to be there.
I would have Dolphins going through. Oh, I would have Manly out first round.
Can I just say, Dolphins Knights is a cracking match this week.
Yeah.
Like if and that goes the same. Like, all right, quick question: can the Dogs go deep into finals?
I think they can.
Okay, Cowboys,
No.
Seagulls,
No.
Dolphins, Knights.
I think Dolphins could, but Knights couldn't.
Wow. So basically, okay. Griffo again. Question without notice. Bottom four.
They're
Is
the
there
best
any?
ones.
What's that?
They're the best ones.
Yeah. Bottom four. Anyone that can go deep in the finals.
To some extent, it depends on the draw. I could see the Bulldogs, and I could see in fact, any of them potentially beating an understrength Roosters.
Yeah,
and beating the Sharks in the second week. Now that's making assumptions.
I'm a little bit with you. You know what the funny thing's going to be? Dolphins or Knights will finish last in the 8th. Sorry, let's just say it's the Dolphins. I think of the bottom four teams, the Dolphins and the Bulldogs have the strike power to go deep. They're playing week 1. Like pretty much the way it's going to work, and unless the it's
not necessarily. It's possible.
It's possible. I just think, look, I can tell you now, Cowboys are stuffed. Maloney's gone, but they sacked Maloney today.
Did they?
Yeah. Drink driving charge gone.
Jeez.
Oh, wow.
So they're stuffed.
I thought he was still in France.
They're stuffed. Like he.
That's big.
Like as an assistant coach, as part of the team. Now that's what's being reported as I say this, unless there's something else or I've read something wrong. You feel free to fact check it. Like that's what I read earlier this afternoon. I just think when you look at it all unfolding, the Dogs will play the Cowboys. I think the Dogs will win that. So I think the Dogs will win that. That'll put them into that position. They can't leapfrog. For and against is just too large. That would basically mean that Cowboys and Seagulls have that middle spot with the team below 33, 34. That would put them into 36. The Sharks would have to get belted and the Bulldogs win by a mozza. So, yeah, I think the Dogs. It's looking more and more likely like the Dogs and the Dogs will get that. The fly in the ointment's going to be the Seagulls. Seagulls play the Sharks this week at home at Brookie. Seagulls at Brookie is a different beast, and I think that if they win, that gives them a home final. But either way, it's looking like if the Dolphins want to get into the top 8, they'll play the Dogs. That's a cracking match week 1. Like, I'm not taking anything away from the top 4, and the top 4 are brilliant sides. Don't get me wrong. But, geez, I think a Dogs-Dolphins match makes me more excited than a Storm Sharks match. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just... That's where we're at. So interesting times ahead. That just goes to show how important this week is. For the Women's Rugby League on the weekend, Titans 6, Sharks 22, Eels 14, Dragons 42. We've been sort of willing this kind of Dragons result on, and it's come to fruition. Knights 34, Tigers 6. Broncos 38, Cowboys 12. Interesting game, and I thought, even at the start of the game, I thought it was going to be even billing. Roosters 34, Raiders 20. Let's just go through the ladder. I think what we'll do, definitely for the Telstra Premiership, Storm on 42, they're minor premiers, we know that. Panthers are 38 with a 180 differential. The Roosters are 36. They've got 267. Roosters play South this week. However, Panthers play Titans. I think that's going to be 1, 2, 3. The differential for the Dogs to win is huge. It's 202 to the Sharks, 134 for the Dogs. So Sharks are 4. In my opinion, that's the order of the top 4. Week 1, we'll see Storm play the Sharks, and Panthers play Roosters. That's in my opinion. Bulldogs should win on the weekend, and we'll go through those games. They're on 34. Cowboys are 34. Dogs play Cowboys. Massive game. Seagulls on 33 and the Dolphins 28. The ones below them are Knights on 28, Dragons 28, Raiders 28. The differential for the Dragons and the Knights, Dragons, Raiders differential is massive. It's just going to come down to points. And I suppose to give you
So it's not going to matter, Shane, unless there's a draw. So
that's exactly right.
It's
because you've got Dragons playing
as
Raiders. Yeah. That nullifies that.
Raiders is winning.
So you basically could knock those two out. Knights and Knights in the only God could pick this last round competition. Dolphins play Knights. The winner of the Dolphins Knights game. The winner of the Dolphins Knights game basically goes through. I think it's going to be Dolphins. So everyone else is more or less playing for pride. So when you look at that, my honest opinion, I think the top 8's set. But the Knights might play some nuisance factor there. The women's Telstra Premiership is getting a little bit interesting. Sharks are first on 12 points. Broncos 8, Knights 8, Roosters 8. Titans 6, Eels 6, Cowboys 6, Dragons, Raiders, Tigers are on none. Dragons, Raiders, Tigers, I think are out. Everyone else has a chance. Guys, I just want to draw something to your attention. On the male, in the men's rugby league, Spoon Bowl, I think, is sold out.
Yeah.
Really?
Spoon Bowl sold out. Okay. So that's something that we'll talk about a bit later as well.
It's not a huge ground.
No, but
yeah, I mean, to think that two teams on the bottom of the ladder selling out of the ground, still good.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny. You know what would be interesting? I thought, and I know there was some pressure on the Tigers to take it to CommBank. So there was actually some pressure on the Tigers to take this game to CommBank.
The other team's home ground. No one's going to do that.
No team's going to do that. I think the sweetener was they could have more or less 100% of the corporate takings. And
it's like all the money they got would
basically,
go to
and they still said no. They said no, it's at Campbelltown, and a good argument.
Yeah, I get that.
I'm glad they stuck to their guns. Because why would you take it basically to the opposition home team? Okay, guys, let's talk about the Telstra Premiership. Let's go for the women's, and we'll kick off on Saturday, 11 a.m. Cowboys up against the Tigers. This is look. The only thing I've got for the Tigers personally is the more losses you have, the closer you are to your next win. I'm not too sure if it's this one. Lily Peacock's out for the Cowboys. However, they really, when you look at these two sides and the way they're playing, the Cowboys just have it across the park. They're playing some really good football. They're doing the, it's not that you want to say they're doing the little things right, but it just seems like at times when you see glimpses of hope from the Cowboys, they just seem to tick the boxes. Last week they didn't. Last week was a week where they were significantly outplayed. They were in the game when Whitfield scored 25th minute. After that, they were just dominated in every aspect of the game. They had to make more tackles. They missed more tackles, and they were put significantly under the pump. I think the best time to attack a team is when they're down. The Cowboys were down a bit last week and after they played. The Tigers, however, I just haven't seen any glimpse of hope from them this season. It's in Townsville. I've got the Cowboys winning this one. They should bounce back. They're going to need to bounce back. However, it's going to be really important for them to do what they need to do. They're in 6 points. They're in that gaggle at 6 points. By winning this week, everyone else has had an easy 2 points against the Tigers. The Cowboys need it too. That'll springboard them to 8. That keeps them in that finals contention. Griff, what have you got in this one?
Well, I won't be watching. I'm sure I'll find something. I'll be doing something else at 11 a.m. on Saturday. To be fair, I haven't watched that much of the women's game over the last few weeks. I haven't had all this stuff on, but this is not a game that appeals in any way. The Tigers haven't won a game. And Cowboys have, they've been going okay, but they'll win this game. Tigers, the coach has got to be under some pressure.
You think so?
Team above the Tigers, they sacked their coach, and they won last week. So
yes, very true.
I don't know if it's an immediate sacking or what it was, but it was strange that they announced it after the team actually won a game. But anyway, we'll get to that. Cowboys. Mika?
Yeah, I have Cowboys as well. I think it's at Townsville, Cowboys home game. And, I think they can. Yeah, I think after last week's loss, they'll want to get the job done.
Not a lot to say there. Interesting, this game. 8th versus 9th. The Dragons are playing up against the Raiders. I've got a theory at the moment that anything lower than 6 points, basically, if you've knocked yourself out, that means the Dragons. I'm putting a line through, and it's because I just think now it's too hard to peg back. In saying that, last week the Dragons actually played some very, very good football. They were on it from the first minute, and they really aimed up. They really wanted to fire. They looked very strong in a lot of aspects of the game. The Raiders held in against the Roosters, against one of the bigger sides. Probably Holly Mae Dodd, scoring in the 67th minute. You sort of thought, well, is there another one on the cards? They just left their run too late. I'm looking at this game and I'm seeing Tegan Berry, and I'm seeing that she can be the one that breaks this right open. Some key outs for the Raiders. That's important. I've got the Dragons winning this one at Nestor Jubilee. I actually think that this could give the Dragons some hope to the next round, Griff.
Well, I agree with you that, the Dragons are going to win here. I saw some of the highlights of their game last week. They were good. But the reality is they could win every game and they're still guarantee. They only gets them to 10 points. And I think they're going to need more than 10 to crack a spot in the top four. And there's only four out of these 10 teams make the semis. They can't. I mean, mathematically they might be able to, but I don't think they're making it. But I do think they'll win this game. And coach, as I said, Soward got the sack. I didn't read whether it was immediate or the season's end, but either way, they'll have a new coach next year, and they'll be a better team because they have so many very, very good young players coming through. They dominated the New South Wales under-19s team, so they'll be better next year. Unfortunate for Jamie Soward that he's been resold, but someone who's going to walk into that job is going to be in a good position because they're a team on the rise.
Yep.
Okay, who wins?
Dragons, Raiders.
I have Dragons for this one. We saw Tegan Berry and Keely Brown both score a double each last week, and I think that they'll have a good edge on this game.
You love a stat.
I love my stats.
At 12 o'clock on Sunday, 8th of September, is the flip a coin game of the Women's Rugby League season. I
don't think this is flip a coin.
Really?
Nope.
Okay. I'll be keen to know why. Sharks are playing the Roosters. It's going to be at PointsBet Stadium in Sydney. It's a Sharkies home game. The Sharks, they've won 6. Played 6, won 6. They're on 12 points. They are absolutely on fire at the moment. Regardless of the result of this match, they will still be in first place at the end of it. They are the sea of consistency. They basically same team week in, week out, same mob playing. Millie Elliott's out for the Roosters, but they have a team that they've been able to set like clockwork. And I don't know if it's going to be like their first grade team who, when they get to the finals, finds a way, finds the back door. But definitely, they've been playing some great football. The Roosters, again, I think they're just starting to hit their straps. Taryn Aiken at halfback. You cannot rule out a team that has Taryn Aiken, Keely Davies as part of your spine. And that includes, in my opinion, Tiana Davidson, who's in at lock. I just think when I look at these two sides, I look at the Shark. This is a flip a coin. You know my rule when we flip a coin. I'm picking the home side. I'm picking the Sharks. Griff?
I actually haven't seen too much of the Sharks play. Obviously, they're the standout side. They're undefeated. They won every game. But, I think Sydney, even though they're missing a few, key players, they're still a very, very talented outfit. And, I rate Taryn Aiken, in the probably top 2 players in Women's Rugby League. And there's plenty around her. It's not just a one lady band with the likes of Bremner, Strange, Kelly. There's big, even though Millie Elliott's out, there's still big, strong forwards. I'm going to tip Sydney here. But, I've tipped against the Sharks earlier this year, and every time I do that, I'm wrong.
Mika, I know you said there's a difference. I'm going to say this. I thought what the Sharks did in the Gold Coast last week cements them as a serious contender threat. What are you thinking here?
Well, that's why I think that it's not evenly matched. I think Sharks will always have that edge because I think...
okay, here we go.
And because you've looked at them all season, right? And I think Sharks with their... Look, Georgia Ravix, she's such a versatile winger and she got a double last week. From 9 appearances, she's gotten 9 tries. So we know that she's always a consistent player and she's always there for a try. So I reckon she'll get a few good ones this week. That's why I reckon Sharks will have the upper hand.
Interestingly, the other side, Mia Wood got a double too.
Not last week.
Yeah, against the Raiders.
Let me check.
I've done my homework.
Wait, I
done my homework.
Okay.
Yep.
But I think, again, Sharks haven't lost a game this year.
Do you think, okay, if Sharks win against the Roosters,
I'm calling it Sharks are winning the premiership.
are we looking at an undefeated?
Well, she's on the early crow.
She's on the early crow. That's dangerous. None that.
Sharks are winning.
All right, okay.
Yeah, it's not like a Kevin Walters on.
Kevin Walters. I promise we're going to make the finals.
When?
How good was the game last week? That just kept playing inside my head every time. Every time the Dolphins scored, I just went, yep.
He comes out with some stupid comments.
Oh,
Really
geez.
does.
Hey, I know we're going to talk men later, but
we'll get to him later. We'll keep going with the ladies.
Head on chopping block, really. Like, it's got to be close to it.
Instant
Anyway, at 6 o'clock, where am I up to? I've lost my train of thought.
Eels Titans.
Eels Titans. That's my sorry, listeners. My computer's just chucked a bit of a wobble.
It does that. Yeah.
It's gone to the it's old. It's sort of like it's getting to the point where it resembles a sandwich press more than it does a computer. Like it just gets hot and takes forever to load, but it makes an awesome cheese toasty. Eels Titans are on Sunday at 1:45. This is at Eric Tweedledale Stadium in Sydney. I have no idea where that is.
Eric Tweedledee and Tweedledum.
Yeah, I don't know where that is. Kennedy Charrington's out for the Eels. However, by the looks of it, both sides are more or less 1-17 in their usual configuration. I know. Talking up the Eels throughout the year, probably they've done some very good work. They did lose last week. The Titans lost last week. I think this is a game of this part of the season. We're seeing a side overachieve what we thought versus the Titans who have not achieved the heights that we thought they would achieve. This is 5th plus versus 6th, and I don't think any of us thought, looking at last year, that the Titans had been here. However, correct me if I'm wrong, this is where the Titans started to get their momentum and work towards the finals. I'm going out on a limb here. I'm actually going to pick the Eels this week in an upset. And it will be an upset. I think the Titans should be favourites. Pardon me. But I'm picking the Eels in an upset. There's something about the Titans this year which is a bit iffy. And I think the Eels, if they go back to the football they've played over the last couple of weeks, could win this match. I'm going out on an extreme limb. This could be a pick that I've burnt, but I'm picking the Eels. Griff, who have you got?
Well, I do think there's a chance the Eels win. I think their best chance is if the Titans don't find Eric Tweedledum Stadium.
Yes.
They find the stadium and get there on time. I think the Titans win. They got too much class. Jamie Chapman, Lauren Brown, Avania Pilate, Shaylee Bent, Shane Marto. It's a better team. They are in a position where they can still make the 4. And to do that, they obviously have to win this game. Good power a chance. Of course they are. It's a 2-horse race. But I'm backing Titans 100%.
Mika, incidentally, Eric Tweedle, sorry. I think I said Tweedle. Eric Tweedle Stadium is in Marylands.
Where's that?
Right.
Yeah.
Better tell the Titans.
Located in Granville Park. So it looks like a fairly nice ground.
Okay.
It's got parklands outside. It's got a swing and some sort of kiddies park. I've got a picture of it pouring rain there. That
very nice.
It's got a few flowers there and the garden bed. Very nice.
Lovely.
Oh, the stairs look nice. It's got a picture of the stairs. down to the ground. So that's good. Who wins this
You got a
one?
ladder there because I think what we're going to see is the Gold Coast will climb up that ladder.
For this one, I will have. I'm gonna go. I don't like to pick against the Eels.
Really?
Because they usually do well.
I didn't know that.
But I think I'm going to tip Titans this week.
Titans this week?
I think with Charrington out with a knee injury until 2025.
Oh, that's not good.
See her through all the way till next year. So
she'll miss the international series again of the year.
Yes, that's a good point. Yes. There you go. So you got the Titans.
Yeah.
Second place, third at 6:10 at McDonald Jones Stadium in Newcastle. Second, third. I suppose Tamsin Rapana is out for the Broncos. We'll put that there on the ledger straight away.
It's a big loss.
Massive loss. And really, when I was looking at this game, I somewhat struggled to think who's going to win this. This is actually, both teams last week asserted their dominance. Knights played Tigers. Broncos played the Cowboys. Both got 30 odd. They're just littered with talent. I just think the difference is, and this is no disrespect to the age or to the players for the Broncos. I just think that the Knights have this youthful skill across the park that can back it up, where the old heads of the Broncos coming to Sydney now to try and do this again, it might just be a bridge too far. I think Tamika Upton in any team is an absolute winner. You match that with someone like Jessie Southwell, Olivia Higgins, Karapani, Yasmin Clydesdale, Hannah Southwell. I think that the Knights are gearing to the finals. I think this is a game where they're like, game faces on, this is going to happen. We are going to just put the foot on the throat here. I'm actually tipping a good, solid Titans win this week, Griff. But Knights win.
I'm going to go with the Knights.
I'm going to Knights. What did I say? Titans?
You're on the Knights as well. Okay.
Titans.
All right.
Knights.
Now, as I said, I haven't seen too many games over the last few weeks. The Broncos have surprised me a bit because I did see them earlier in the year. They look hot, but they have made some signings from, I think, the winger, Stacey Wacker, who won a gold medal for New Zealand at the recent Olympics. They do obviously have a quality team, and that's shown by their position on the ladder. But I have a very high opinion of this Knights team. I've watched them in the last two grand finals, being at the game, and they've won them both. And largely, the side is similar. It's not exactly the same, but you mentioned the quality players they've got. For me, Upton, the best player in women's rugby league, along with Taryn Aiken. They got Jessie Southwell, incredibly skilled. And a range, they're strong forward pack. Clydesdale, Hannah Southwell. They bring ladies like Ramanuk and Predabon off the bench. So that's the quality of the squad they've got. Broncos have, they've done well to be where they are. I think they lost the first two games. They might have won every game since. But I think they come up against a tough opposition in that.
What I loved last week,
the Newcastle Knights to get the win here.
My apologies, Griff. I jumped in on you there, picking the Knights.
Oh, that's all right.
The thing I loved about Knights, Mika, is this all-rounded game where everyone ripped into score. I think I know Gallagher got a double, but the key for me, last week they're 3 from 7. Sheridan Gallagher got 3 from 7 conversion-wise. She's going to have to sharpen that up this week against the Broncos. This end of the season, 4 needs to be 6, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Who's winning?
I'm gonna have Broncos.
Look at how it's like you're at a restaurant.
Yeah, I think Broncos are gonna win this one because I don't really know, but I think Ali Brigginshaw will definitely want. I think she kind of feels like she has something to prove.
If the Broncos win this is massive.
Yeah.
I tell you now, I remember picking the Broncos earlier in the year with no confidence. And I think you and Griffo actually said, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And it's like I sort of bought into their names more than the team. And it's if they win this, I think this is a massive thing for them.
I think they can do it.
Well, we'll soon find out. So that
just a question, Shane. I didn't see the game. Did you say that the kicker for the Knights only got 3 from 7 last week?
Sheridan Gallagher, yes, 3 from 7.
Okay. Did Jessie Southwell not play?
No.
She's a goal kicker.
Yeah, that's
She's
right.
a very good one.
That's right. And
okay.
I don't...
Because she'd normally be the kicker.
No, I don't think she did play.
Okay, so she kicks at a very high percentage.
That's exactly right. And I think the issue is, I don't know whether her... So, some mail I got yesterday was she won't be kicking on the weekend.
All right. So she got an injury.
Yeah, so that worries me a little bit. But...
I'm still tipping the Knights.
Still tipping the Knights, yes. Yeah, because who played? Evie Jones played last week.
All right.
Yeah. So, yeah, Jessie Southwell. Did she play? Yeah, she didn't. Yeah, didn't kick. So.
All right. So she.
Yeah, it was. I think she played for a little while but didn't kick, and I think that's going to be the same this week. So that's where I'm sort of. Yeah.
Okay.
Well. One of the most awful things as a rugby league fan is about to happen.
Round 27.
We're going to talk about the last round of the season. Because that means that finals are great. Love to watch finals football. Don't like it when it's all over. But anyway, it's okay. It's okay.
I do understand.
The Big Bash draft was on or whatever that was, and I didn't understand a minute of it, but that's okay. I think the Thunder are in for another long season, but that's another.
No. There's always hope.
There's always hope. I know.
Dreadful every other year, but
fingers, toes crossed. I think they've actually got better than.
They got Sam Billings back.
Billings back. Yes, that's big in. That's a big in. That is.
They've got a West Indian middle order player apparently who hits them pretty well, and then. I think Lockie Ferguson as well, the fast forward.
Yes, Lockie Ferguson's there. Yes, that's right.
Oh, look, they're
we're always in with a chance.
Actually make runs. I don't expect he will, but they'll be all right.
Hopefully. At 7:50 on Thursday, the 12th place Broncos take on the first place Storm. This is a team of has and has not. So I look, I'm not gonna remotely tell you the teams, who's in, who's out, whatever. Let's just talk about who's out for both sides. So, Bakura, Staggs, Haas, Williamson, out for the Broncos. In any other week, that spells disaster. Williamson, Arima, Russell Smith, Seve, Pappenhausen, Meroa, Powell, and Tupanua are out for the Storm. I suppose with who's in, who's out, these two, we should probably go through it, shouldn't we? So, fullbacks, Sailor and Failongo. Oates and Warbrick are the wingers. Cobbo, Howarth, Mariner, Meaney. So that's, look, so far I'm looking at the Storm thing, and they've got the upper hand. Jesse Arthurs and Grant Anderson are the wingers. Josh Rogers and Adam Reynolds are half and 5'8" for the Broncos. Munster, Hughes, half 5'8" for the Storm. Game over, lights out, Storm win. Griffo, who are you picking?
Well, just looking through this, I think this is one of the worst Broncos sides.
Isn't it like...
Apart from, when it's been Origin affected.
Isn't it sketchy?
I know they've got a lot of injuries, but... their season was over. Well, we thought it was over 6 or 7 weeks ago.
They've got Reece Walsh named at 20.
Yeah, well, if he's fit, he's got to be there. But obviously, there's a question on his fitness.
Oh, look,
whether he plays or he doesn't play, it doesn't matter.
The good news for the Broncos is at the end of the game on Thursday, their body will be right for Monday. Mad Monday.
Yeah. It's important for individuals in this team because a number of them would be up for positions in various rep teams, particularly the Australian side. So
that's true.
There's probably not too many guys that take in the field, but Carrigan obviously. Well, you'd think he'll be in the Australian squad.
You think he's in the squad?
Looking at who was there, maybe Selwyn Cobbo. Walsh would be a contender if he gets on the field. But even if he doesn't get on the field, you'd think he will make that squad. But there are being a lot of injuries at the moment. But that's probably it. Payne Haas not playing. I don't know the extent of his injury, but you'd think he's going to be in the Australian side. So put good players around those guys and they go even better. So, but the problem is that they're up against the best team currently in the NRL, who are almost at full strength. And even though the Flying Dutchman is out with his injury last week, you've got one of the most dangerous attacking weapons in the NRL, who takes his place in the form of Sua Fa'alongo. It's the Melbourne Storm, and I think they win by quite a lot, Mika.
Melbourne Storm, full stop. I don't have a stat for this one. Storm's just going to win by a crap ton.
Well, all right. Is that?
But for those listeners,
that's a unit of measure.
A lot.
That's a metric. That's a metric
Right.
unit.
Okay.
I'll tell you what. You know what's hilarious about this?
What?
Is that Channel 9 would have thought, do we pick the Eels-Titans game or the South Roosters game? South Roosters every day of the week. Why would we pick the Tigers-Eels game? Because it's Spoon Bowl, everyone.
Yay.
It's Spoon Bowl. Get your spoons in. It's Spoon Bowl. And what's actually quite interesting is that it's actually the teams that field are actually quite good. It's the West Tigers at Campbelltown Sports Stadium versus the Parramatta Eels. So it's 17-16. The loser will be the wooden spoon for this year. The winner takes all the glory of being able to say they finished 16th.
They take the bowl and the other guys get the
Spoon. That's right.
Yeah.
Look, I suppose if you've lived under a rock and you haven't watched the Tigers play, you know that Heath Mason is the fullback. Look, Galvin and Caesar are there up against Brown and Dejanasi. Brandon Hands is hooking for the Eels. Api Coruscant for the Tigers. It's and of course Gutho, Sevo in a wing, Penasini and Talangi. Talangi's the guy I actually think I'll talk a bit about him in a minute. I actually think he's going to play a pivotal role in this game. Forward pack is stock standard for both sides. They've played the same ones. I want to give two two players to watch in the forwards, and I think it's going to be Bryce Cartwright up against Fainu. I think that's the one. They're the players who are the rocks and diamonds of this team. They can, if they want to do something great, they can. If they don't, they generally don't. It's Alex Twal at the moment is on the interchange bench. I think they're going to stick to 1 to 17 for both sides. In saying that, one of the replacements for the Eels is Jake Tago. I would not be surprised looking at this Eels side if he doesn't just if they don't throw caution to the wind and maybe throw him in as some sort of utility off the bench just to see if the game's tight, do they put him on, see what happens. This is hilarious that we're talking about this game. The Tigers, well, the Tigers are the Tigers and the Eels are the Eels. Last week, I saw a team play an absolutely horrible Dragons side for 60 minutes. And then all of a sudden, like this is the Eels, right? Eels get the ball, they go down, score, they put a bit of pressure on. The Dragons have one shot at their line and they score. And then the Dragons bugger up. Then they get back up there and score, and they score at the end. The Tigers are this side who just seem to know how to disappoint. It's at Campbelltown. I'm going to talk about... Now, I think Blaze Talangi in the centre role, he is pivotal for the Eels. If they can get Blaze Talangi early ball and get him working out wide, he will score a bucket load of tries. Galvin and Caesar need to control this game for them, for the West Tigers, and I think Api Coruscant is the linchpin. He's the person that needs to the cool, calm, collected. Let's just methodically do this and put it in the right areas. I'm going on a limb here for no other reason. Then there's one Carpool Rugby League favourite, the Doctor. The Doctor. I'm going for the Tigers. And you know, like one of my all-time favourite people on earth goes for the Eels. But I just think the Tigers are going to win this. I think Appy, like, you know, yeah, like I say, like, you know, he's up in Newcastle, the Novocastrian. He's one of my favourite people of all time. He goes for the Eels. I think Appy is the guy who, at the end of this match, it's like this is a grand final for them. No, and I think Appy's the guy. I genuinely think at the end of this match, we're going to say Appy's the man of the match and the Tigers win. I'm saying that with a degree of fairy taleness about it. Griff, who have you got?
Well, important to know, both these teams are last up winners.
They are?
In a season for both of them that's been horrible. As you mentioned, Para sort of they died in the backside towards the end of the game, and we've seen it in a few games where they've been leading and they've faded. Whether it's a fitness thing or a concentration thing, I don't know. But the reality is that they've led a lot of games and been either run down, or as we saw last week, they led by so far that even they couldn't. They got to an impossible position to lose, but they nearly did. There's plenty of attacking weapons in both sides, but I think the Eagles got a bit more class in the outside backs, and with Dylan Brown there, I think they're going to win this game. I think the forwards in both sides have a lot to offer. I think it could be a really good game. I hope it's not a landslide one way or the other. I hope it lives up to the hype. It's the most hyped game for two crap teams that there's ever been, I think. But the supporters of both teams, one of them are going to go home very, very much with the tail between their legs, because they will have achieved the wooden spoon. The Tigers, they know how to win a spoon. They've won the last two. Power won not all that long ago before they had some good years, and some of these players would have been part of that squad, but not too many. It's quite a young Power side there, mixed with some experience. I'm tipping Power. I think the Tigers can get the three-peat. I know it's hard. Any sort of three-peat is difficult, but I'm going to tip Parramatta Eels. Mika.
Well, I think if Tigers know how to do something, they know how to lose a game in the last couple of minutes or in the second half. And I think, yeah, Ape is the man to get him there, and that he's the one to not achieve the spoon. But I'm gonna go Para with this one. I think, yeah, I don't know. I just think Para can win it.
Mate, if Tigers are flat after their week off, they are going to... Looking at the start,
I think it'll be close, but...
Looking at the start of the Eels last week, that exposed them dramatically. Well, 15th place Rabbitohs take on the 3rd place Roosters. It's been announced that Jack Whiten is out for South Sydney. Brandon Smith, Daniel Tupou, Nate Butcher, Sam Walker, and Victor Radley are out for the Roosters. Look, this is probably the pinnacle of a year that the South Sydney Rabbitohs wish they could just crawl into some corner and rock in the fetal position. In saying that, Talis Duncan is playing lock this week. He's wearing the number 8 golden jersey to pay homage to Ron Coote. Of course, people way back when, and Griffo, you and I would remember where lock was number 8, and
it was.
the numbering system was a bit more backward than what it is now. 12 was the hooker.
Okay, yeah.
Yes, remember that. And
get your doubles, and
yes.
Yeah, if you got 2 12s, you won something. I remember that.
Right. That's 100% correct.
From the 1970s.
Yes, so I remember that well. In the end of the 80s, that numbering system.
Yep. Yes, true.
Yep. So Mario Fennick was playing for South.
It was Test match.
Playing with
Never
number
played
12.
one, but that was his nickname.
What's that?
Test match.
Yes. So Talis Duncan is wearing the number 8 jersey for the lock. Basically because 6, 7, 8 was the back of the scrum, and then 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Unlike we see it now. So Talis Duncan wearing that golden the golden 8 with look. This is a side now. Tedesco is still there. Swat Aliti there. Joseph Manu there. Dominic Young there. Luke Keary. Sandon Smith is in a halfback. Connor Watson is now playing hooker. That now draws Docker Clay, Wong, Va'a, and May onto the bench. White in at lock. Tupanua will be number 12. With Angus Crichton in 11, Lindsay Collins. That is still a very impressive team. James Tedesco is their captain at fullback. I think this is Tyrone Munro under to his credit and condolences to his family. I thought he played a very good game. I think that he has a massive future ahead of him. His injury probably highlighted some of the issues that South have at the moment, that they just can't put people on the park. And him coming back was a bit of a shining light to play under, I suppose, under the conditions that his family went through last week. However, Tane Milne, Richie Kenner in at centre, Jacob Gagai's on the wing. It's going to be a bloodbath. I think the Roosters win this well. I will tip South Sydney. They are my team, but if you want me to tell you who's going to win, it's going to be the Roosters, Griff. I dare say you probably got the same.
Well, I was at the game last week. Watched South Sydney go around, and they lost by quite a bit, but it could have been a lot more. I thought the referee, the way he refereed the game, suited South's stop-start nature of the game. They had a good couple of good pieces. There was a great try that they did score, where Walker kicked the ball early in the count, and Monroe, as you said, he was a shining light for him. He got the try. That was quality. And then they got the intercept with Monroe. But they didn't show too much. And a lot of that is because you look at the team that's taken the field. This is nowhere near what you would have thought would be the best Souths team. And they're playing that way. They got a few guys there who I don't think really are up to first grade standard.
No. Yeah, that's a fair call.
And even though the Roosters are down on strength due to those injuries from last weekend, they're still a far superior squad on paper. What we do know about the Roosters, in round one, they had two guys playing reserve grade who went on to play in a winning State of Origin series. So probably more depth than any other club in the league. And there's still, as you mentioned before, there's plenty of attacking ability with the likes of Tedesco, Suali'i, Manu, Dom Young playing outside Luke Keary and Sandon Smith. They've still got quality of Crichton, Collins, Lenu, Tupanua, White, and then you bring on a guy like Siwa, Wong, Terrell May, and the young De La Salle is very highly rated.
Look, as we say in the mountains, more depth than the deep end of Blackheath Pool, which used to be the kid that's freaking deep.
Yeah, they'll win this game, and I'm not writing them off for the premiership. It's just a matter of whether they can replace young Sam Walker, who they've built their game around.
Massive.
I don't think the loss of Brandon. Well, Brandon Smith's a very good.
Brandon Smith's been sort of this enigma, hasn't he? He's sort of like, well, does he? Doesn't he play?
He hasn't been a huge factor in the success of the Roosters.
Can I actually say? So Walker's massive, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Brandon Smith is big. I think Victor Radley's huge. I think the Victor Radley defensively allows Crichton and Tupanua, like he jams that middle, and I think it's actually going to cause fatigue on the fringes. South Sydney won't expose it because they're shot ducks. It's going to be the following week where teams go jam in the middle, get the second rowers engaged and off and short ball to the centre, and there'll be space to burn out there. All right, yeah.
Yeah. But for this game, I think it's a fairly sizable Sydney win. Mika.
I think with everyone Roosters have out, they can still win. I think just how South have gone all of this year, and I wouldn't say Whiten's been a big standout, but he's played somewhat of a part. So I think him being out would just leave South in kind of this hole around the middle of the field, just not knowing how to play.
I think the big question for South Sydney is, I think throughout the year they've had issues and problems that their board have not responded well to.
No.
And I think moving forward, I think Sydney are in trouble.
With Bennett coming next year, I think he will get them back into shape.
That's fine, but Bennett does not control the board. I actually think that. I think it's even Blake Solly and his handling of this whole Latrell situation. I think that their whole board's in trouble. I actually think South Sydney, even with a great coach coming next year, if they don't seriously look at themselves in the off season and how their board are going, I think the next season could even be longer, because they have players pulling money from the cap and a coach is going to cost them a fortune. So probably, yeah, that's a discussion to have post-season, but it's something just to put on ice for a moment. At 3:00 on Saturday, the Dragons will take on the Raiders, and this is going to take place at Nestor at Jubilee Stadium. Rabalaba is out. That's a shock, because he had such a great game last week. Couchman is also out. Elliot Whitehead is out with suspension, and Jordan Rapin is out, which puts Kale Weeks, Albert Hopewati, and Xavier Savage as 1, 2, and 5. Zach Lomax to the wing, Sully and Bird in the centres. Look, where do we go to from here? I actually think the Dragons are going to win this match, and I think they're going to win it because they actually can. Their forward pack are the shining light of this season. If people look at Dragons, where they finish, they're going to be just outside the 8. What's actually been going well for the Dragons? I think they've actually got a really solid forward pack. Molo, Little, Jack DeBellin, Leilua. I think Jaden Sewer's playing his best football he's played in a long time. And can I just say, Carpool Rugby League favourite, Tom Eisenhuth, I think he has actually added so much value to this side. I know he was injured. There was a game there where he was injured and he was found a bit wanting. But I think that this forward pack has actually done a lot for the Dragons. They're up against another good forward pack, Papali'i, Starling, Tarpany, Young. Look, Morgan Smithies last week actually played some really good football. I think that actually the Dragons bench is also probably better than the Raiders. I've got the Dragons winning this one in somewhat unsure fashion. I think Ben Hunt. When I look at it, Ben Hunt will probably be the best player on the field. He's got a great forward pack around him. People like Jack Bird and Lomax using that kicking game. I think the Dragons will win this one. In the end, it won't be comfortable. It'll be somewhat sketchy at times, Griff. But the Dragons, I think, have this, and they'll finish just outside the 8.
I do agree with you that they're going to finish just outside the 8, but I'm going to tip Canberra. I was really disappointed with what I saw from St. George Illawarra last week in that first half when they had everything to play for. Spot in the 8. I've had a lot of trouble tipping both of these sides throughout the year. They're very inconsistent, but St. George, Illawarra, they were going win-loss, and that's why I thought they'd win last week. And they didn't. The Raiders in their last 2 weeks have knocked over the Penrith Panthers and also the Sydney Roosters. Now, not too many teams can boast that. I don't know if anyone can, actually, this year. They've had their bad games, the Raiders, and but they've been good in the last few weeks, been very solid. That may change this week. Who knows with both these teams, but I'm going to stick with Canberra. They're a team, I think, on the rise. A lot of good young players, and they've invested in some more. They got the Colonel coming there next year to play in the halves. Forward he missed last week. He's been really good since he came back from injury. They still won. He's back this week. Strange is back. They got pace with the likes of Savage, Tomoko, KO Sports. He's had a really good finish to the year. They're a strong forward pack. I'm going Raiders, Mika.
Yeah, I'm gonna have Raiders as well. I think their win last week and then their win against Penrith the week before. I think they can definitely win against the Dragons.
Yeah, I thought Louis and Monsieur Caruana, man with the best laugh in the world, put it best about the Dragons. Last week, you had everything to play for, and you failed to show up. Yeah, this has the hallmarks of being a bludger of a match, but anyway, we'll wait and see. On 5:30 on Saturday, the Doggies play the Cowboys 5th versus 6th. I think we're going to look at the game before. We think, geez, I think this has every opportunity to be a cracker of a match. Bronson, the big problem here is key outs. Bronson Sherry for the Dogs, Matt Burton for the Dogs.
Burton's a big one. 2
massive outs. That brings Drew Hutchinson and Toby Sexton, Sexbomb as he's more affectionately known here at Carpal Rugby League, in at 6 and 7. Bronson Sherry brings Jarrell Skelton, Jacob Kiraz, Stephen Crichton, and Addo Carr as the 2, 3, 4, 5 in this side. Of course, Connor Tracy at fullback, Drinkwater, Felt, Holmes in doing their usual thing. Murray Talangi on the wing, Dearden and Clifford rounding it out. And the forward packs are doing their usual thing. This is a really, really pivotal match for both sides. I'm picking the Dogs because I think the Dogs just need to show up. I think it's going to be the people that know what to do best. And the guy who I think knows finals, knows how to play is Kikau. We saw him do this for Penrith how many times? Turn up, do the right thing, be the guy who's this pivotal player. I think he's a guy with Reed Marnie. I think Reed Marnie really needs to start cementing himself as this player. Guess what? Number 17, Josh Curran. He's also there. He's a key player. I've got the Dogs winning this one. Take nothing away from a forward pack that has people like McLean, Robson, Tomalomo, Lukey, Nanite, and Cotter in it. That is a phenomenal forward pack. I just think the Dogs at home know the role. They know what they're playing for. They're playing week 1 in Homebush. And they understand that. They want that. They're in Accor Stadium this week. They're in Sydney. They don't want to have to travel anywhere. They don't want to jeopardise anything. I've got the Dogs winning this one, Griff.
Okay. Expecting another huge crowd at at a core.
Should be a good game.
Yeah. You say the team's 5th and 6th on the ladder. The Cowboys were very ordinary last week, playing the largely second string Melbourne Storm team. They nearly lost.
They got lucky, didn't they?
A little bit. But yeah, no, they won the game. At the end of the day, they got the 2 points, which was what was important. This team have been the yo-yo team of the NRL. They're up and down. Even when they've won, they've had some poor performances, but they've clocked up enough 2 points to be in a position where they were pretty much secure last week in the top 8. I actually am tipping them this week. I think the Bulldogs have had a brilliant year. I did not expect they were going to make the 8. And certainly, again, they were comfortable in the 8, like for a few weeks. Everyone knew that they were going to make the 8. Last week, they got beat. And then they didn't just get beat. They sort of got... They got hammered, actually, by the Manly Sea Eagles. I actually went out to Penrith early, and I saw... I got there, it was about 20 minutes in the game, and then... So I saw the last 20 of the first half and probably the first 20, maybe a bit more of the second half. So I didn't see the whole game, but I went to the club and watched it. I was really impressed with Manly. They played a massive power game that showed the way to beat the Bulldogs. Now, the Bulldogs, very enthusiastic,
great
very
point,
mobile.
Griff. Great point. Very good point there.
And you look at the Cowboys team, guys like McLean, Taumalolo, Lukey, they're big boys. And you'd think McKaylee off the bench as well is a big lad. Griffin Neem, they're just going to be trying to do what Manly did last week, to just basically go through the middle, and then they've got some talent out wide as well, the Cowboys. So the likes of Drinkwater, Dearden, Taulagi, Holmes, I do think they're going to have a little bit too much class for the Bulldogs. No doubt Coach Seraldo will be challenging his team to return to the form that has saw them win many, many games and look good. But they were out-muscled last week. And I know they scored a few late tries to make the scoreboard look respectable, but they were soundly beaten. The script has been written as to how to beat these guys, and it's a matter of whether Todd Payton's men can go to script. I do think the Cowboys will win. I'm not confident. It's a big game at in front of a big crowd, and they'll all be supporting the Bulldogs. You might have a couple hundred Cowboys fans there, but I'm tipping them to win. Mika.
I have for this one, I'm going to have Dogs for this one. I think I think Dogs have proved time and time again that they can be a top 8 team, and that they can be a good finals team. And I don't think they're quite in contention for the premiership just yet, but I think they can go far into the final series.
All right. So you got the Dogs?
Yep.
All right. At 7:35 on Saturday at Penrith Park, and I'm happy to say that. You guys know my allegiance. However, I have quite a few family members. Grandfather loved Penrith. Zach Olianik was his favourite player.
Oh, Zach.
Yeah.
Back at the 70s.
Yes. Sadly passed away before he saw them win a grand final. But when I first went to Penrith Park, I was a 6-year-old sitting on the hill, which is where the grandstand, I suppose, the Eastern grandstand is now. Watching South Sydney versus Penrith. South won that day. South won 6-4 from memory, and I don't think there was a try scored. I think it was all from penalty goals. But Penrith Park is a place that's, I think, if you're a Penrith fan or someone from the mountains that went and watched a game at Penrith, that's what you know it has. So I'm glad that they've called it Penrith Park for the final game of the round. At Penrith Park, we see the Panthers take on the Titans. Second place 14, a team of haves versus a team that have nots. And when you look at a team that have nots, they've without David Fafita, the Titans. Wow, it's just a the Panthers. Edwards, Taruva, Tago, Brian Toto, Schneider, Luai, Leota, Kenny, Fisher, Harris, Sorensen, Martin, and Yo. Like that, like even if you had a top strength side against that team, that you're in trouble. The Titans don't have that. They are without Daniel Fafita, as we said. Jojo Fafita is in with Kieran Foran. Jojo Fafita's on the wing. You got Campbell and Foran. Verrills 9. We spoke about that over the last couple of weeks. Randall, Haas, Leo is the back rowers. Look, Griffo, I'm not going to talk about Penrith. That's your job, but I'm actually, as someone who grew up in the mountains and has very close family members who love Penrith, to see that it's Penrith Park at Penrith for the last round before it gets rebuilt, that's very cool. We know they've got a jersey livery for this weekend, which I think is also very cool. Growing up, being a South Sydney fan in the Blue Mountains, you always wanted to see what Penrith were doing. And when I look at the Panthers this week, I see a team that's just littered with talent versus a team that's only talent's not playing. Penrith will win this and win this very well, Griff.
Well, that's the script, Shano. I do expect Penrith to win the game. I was quite pleased with probably how they played about the first maybe 60 minutes last week. Maybe not quite that long, but I thought they were pretty good in the first half, and then they came out and scored 2 quick tries in the second half. Looked like it was going to be a cricket score, but then, they didn't really finish off that well after that. But I was really impressed with Isaiah Yo last week. I was going to give him the grab this week, but then Sean Johnson did what he did. So, but Yo was outstanding. Luai was very good. They were moving the ball a little bit more than they had been, and I thought they looked pretty good in attack. They're up against the Titans side who produced some really good performances, but for most of the year they've been pretty ordinary. They were in contention for the 8, 3 or 4 weeks ago. Even though they'd been down the bottom of the ladder for most of the year, they started to find some form. They've got some really good attacking players, the likes of Keanu Kinney, Khan Pereira on the wing. Jojo Fafita did some good things last week. Jaden Campbell, they've got some names there. Forward pack looks not quite as strong. You mentioned Fafita was out, and obviously Big Tino's been out all year. One of my favourite players is back on the bench, Jacob Alik-Winky. He's been out for a while with the top team. but he's there, Alec Winky. So I'll be looking for see for any tongues wagging during the game. There's a new guy there who I've not seen before, number 17, Arama Howe. I'm not sure what Arama plays, but I'm sure he'll smell quite nice when he gets out there. I'm not sure how though. But anyway, so he could become a carpool favourite. But to the bottom line, this is the last. Well, it was going to be the last game at Penrith Park because it looked like the Panthers were not going to get a home semi, and then both the Roosters and the Sharks went down after Penrith had got the 2 points now. So that makes this game really important for the Panthers, not one that they want to let slip, because if they do manage to win, they will host a home final, which is very, very important. And they've based a lot of their success in recent years on doing exactly that and getting that win in week one. It looks as though if things go to script, that they'll probably play the Roosters at Penrith as opposed to playing the Roosters at Allianz, which it looked like was going to be the case, but not to be. Penrith, I think I've talked too long. We move on to Mika and her opinion on this game.
Yeah, Penrith are winning any day.
Yeah.
Yeah, easy game to pick. Penrith win.
Cool. I think Penrith are just, they're going.
I think they're just too good and too dominant.
They're going for them, mate. They're going for the finals. They know. Like, it's funny you mentioned it, Griff. This time last week, we were wondering if Penrith would get a home final. And we
didn't think it was going to be that way.
No, and you sort of think, well, even in week one, away, if there's one team that could win, it's the Panthers. So, very interesting. On
Just
Sunday,
trying to calculate, Shane, how many games I've watched the Panthers play over the years. I reckon I would have cracked the double ton of games watching Penrith since the 1980s. Maybe even probably might have seen a game or two in the 70s. Not as a Penrith fan back in those days, but certainly, late 80s, I started pretty much going to every home game. I reckon since that time, I wouldn't have missed more than probably about a dozen games. Most of those have been when I've been away on holidays. So it's going to be quite. So I hadn't thought about it until right now.
You know what, Griff? I was asked. I actually was interviewed for an article back when South Sydney got kicked out, and they actually asked how many games had I watched South Sydney play. So that, what was that? 01. And you don't realise, and I said, I never thought of it. And then you start thinking about every week in, week out that you go, and every game that you sort of go to, and you don't realise just how many games you've gone to, do you?
Yeah.
You know, you just rock up and watch your team play. That's what you do. That's your job.
Yeah.
And yeah, so yeah, I know exactly where you're coming from. I remember being asked, and I remember going. I think it was actually at the last game we played Manly before we got kicked out that season, and I must have been, I don't know. They said, "Oh, we see you here every week. Can we sort of interview you?" And I think it was via phone call at my house. It wasn't even with mobiles. And yeah, you don't realise until you sort of start thinking about how many games have you methodically gone to and gone through. Yeah, 100%.
It was a big effort on your, not just you, but your other family members. Because, I mean, in those days, their home ground was the SFS.
Well, when it was at the SFS, I'll never forget. We were 8 years old, and we would hound mum and dad to go to the football. And Friday night football at the SFS, Dad had finished work painting, and we'd go home, and it would be in the van, and we'd drive down to Sydney to watch football, and it was a massive effort. It was huge.
Sounds like a nearly 2-hour trip.
Oh yeah. It was like, and you. I remember my mum saying you can't walk out to the full-time siren. That's not fair, regardless of how they play. And back then at times they played pretty poorly, but you weren't allowed to. And I still have that to this day. Like if that's the team you follow them for 80 minutes, and you deal with the fallout when you walk out the ground. So. Yeah, it's I hear. I think to any, we've often said on this podcast, the first thing you can do for your club is become a member.
Yeah.
And that secures everything for your club. Membership secures so much for your club. And then if you go out there and follow your team and do what you need to do, it helps. Membership and patronage helps so much. And I think I take my hat off to anyone that's a member and goes out and watches their club play, because you are securing your club's future. And like you are, Griff, with the Panthers, and let's face it, we can talk about the Panthers now being awesome. There were some very lean years there for a while.
Absolutely. There was a spoon or two in there.
Yeah. There were some very lean years. So
some ordinary teams at times, but it's been success. Unfortunately, in 1991, back in the old, SFS, when it was the grand final, and a lot of the seats went to members who didn't show up, which was just it was appalling.
Okay, yeah, right.
I couldn't get to that game. I'd been to all the semis in the lead up, but I couldn't get tickets for the grand final.
That was a big day.
I was at the grand final in 03 with my daughter. She was 8 years old.
03 was a great game.
Yeah, we watched the Scott Sattler tackle. I said, he's going to get it.
Yep.
And then saw them go down in the grand final to the Storm. It was quite disappointing. They didn't really show up in that first half. They were just blown off the park. Then I couldn't obviously get to Brisbane for the victory over Souths, but I did see the last two where they really dominated Parramatta in the first half, and then I could lose all my memory, but I don't think I'm going to lose the memory of Nathan Cleary going over for that winning try in 23 grand final. I think everything else pretty much might disappear, but that is going to be etched in my memory forever.
Yeah, that was massive.
So I had a lot of joy.
So we had a couple of mates. Of course, my brother, he goes for Penrith. And we actually went to the club. We went to Panthers in 03 after they won. I said, well...
Yeah, I was there.
My brother said, let's drive down. So we actually said, yeah, why not? We picked up a mate of ours on the way at Wimberley, and we went down, and it was quite... Only because I thought, well, I don't know if my team will ever win one, so let's have a look.
Let's see what one looks like.
We're lucky to be in the competition. The courts only decided we're in the competition, so let's have a look. So, it was...
good vibe. Good vibe.
So Penrith Park... last round with a chocolate soldier's livery, I think no one could begrudge the Panthers anything they do on that ground, because for 12 months for 12 months at least they're not there.
2 years now. It's at least 2 years at Combank, which for me is much closer. So. I mean, I don't care where they play. I'm a member. I'll be there.
Yeah, you'll be there. That's it.
Unless it's interstate, that's a bit difficult. But like the COVID year. But I'll still be a member next year. I'll go to Combank and watch them play. I hope many others do. I know that a lot of Penrith supporters you don't want to really leave Penrith. But I just hope what they come up with, and I'm a bit skeptical actually about since all the plans change from an All-Seater stadium of something like 25,000 sort of change of government, and then the funding. I don't know if the funding was actually cut. It's just that what the promised amount could buy previously couldn't buy anymore.
Yeah, that was. I
just hope it's going to be an improvement on what's there, because for the amount of money that's going to be spent, if it's just a little bit better, and they got a lot more corporate boxes and stuff like that, which I'll never be in. I don't. I'll be disappointed by that. I know that apparently they had to make some changes because some dude in China who is going to develop some units across the road has put forward some sort of legal thing saying you can't build it to that height or whatever. I don't know. I won't swear, but if that is true...
What, are they missing out the view of Nepean Hospital or something?
Something to do with they're going to lose more sunlight or something. Honestly. What about you build up a bloody multi-level apartment? What about everyone else's sunlight?
Where I like, we living in the mountains, you've always got a soft spot for the Panthers, I suppose. Where I'm worried about this is I was actually talking to someone who's affiliated with the cricket club next door. And they were talking about certain things that have to happen to the cricket ground in order to allow the things to happen.
Yep.
And I was sort of saying, okay, well, what's the issue? And they're saying, well, they weren't going to upgrade the sewer. And I went, well, you'd think if you're going to have more stuff, that's the first thing. Yeah. And they were talking about what they've got to do next door. And I said, well, wouldn't you start putting that outside of that, of the window of okay, here's a football ground, here's the cricket club. And Penrith Cricket Club's quite a successful cricket club.
Yes, they are indeed.
Quite big in its own right. Why are we talking about ripping up a bloody cricket ground to do this? And it literally was like that. It was like, well, too many other people around had flexed their muscle and they had to actually do stuff through the cricket ground. And I thought, I just hope everything goes well. That's it.
Yeah.
I drove. I as a resident of the mountains, if we want anything done to cars or whatnot, we have to go to Penrith. And I drove past Penrith. We stopped at Macca's on the way home, didn't we? And you're still drinking your lemonade. And my cousin played for Penrith Cricket Club. We've got. I've been affiliated with people who play for the Panthers. I know people in both camps. We've done things in Junior Rugby-League, Griffo, with Panther Trophy, where we've gotten the coveted polo shirt that says we've won the Panther. And you just want everything to be done right. And I just hope
I hope so. Right. I just hope it's not a white elephant.
100%.
Anyway.
Seagulls play Sharks. 7th place, 4th. Seagulls play the Sharks. This is at 4 Point Stadium in Sydney, formerly known as Brookvale. At 2 p.m. on Sunday. This is going to be a cracking match. This is, like, if it's fine and everything's great, Sunday afternoon football, this is made for it. However, when you look at it, Jason Saab, Tom Trbojevic are out for the Seagulls. They are massive blows. I look at people like Will Kennedy who are in for the Sharks. This is a massive game for both these clubs. I think my biggest problem here, once you say Trbojevic is out for the Seagulls, you start to worry. I just think the Sharks are getting their September wobbles. They get them every year. They just don't know what quite's going on. All of a sudden, they might win first week and they get smashed second week and they're out the back door. The Seagulls last week, I thought, played the best game they've played in a couple of years. I thought they were really, 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 really good. I thought they've played some great football. I thought they've done some great things. I would be looking at the Seagulls thinking they should win this game. However, because they're at home, the Sharks are there. I think Trbojevic out for them. And, you got to remember, Jackson Paulo has been put on an extended bench for them as well. I think Trbojevic out for them is an issue. I've got the Sharks winning this one. Griffo, who have you got?
Yeah, I'm going to stick with Manly at home. Obviously, Tommy Turbo, when he's not there, their win percentage is significantly lower. It's not just him, as you mentioned. It's also Saab. And I rate Saab highly for his speed. He's got some deficiencies, obviously, but he is a very, very good finisher. And if he's got clear space in front of him, you're looking at 4 or 6 points. So I do think he's a significant loss also. I did like what I saw from Manly last week with that power game that they played. I'm never convinced about the Sharks. And last week only fueled my attitude that, they're not a bankable team at this time of the year. Yes, they generally win games against lesser lights. And to be fair, they actually have beaten some of the better teams this year, which they've struggled with in the past. Manly, if they win this game, basically they get a home final. So because the Bulldogs are playing the Cowboys, and those teams are only 1 point ahead of Manly.
Yep.
It really is so important, this game, and they will know that they'll get the home final if they can win this one, which puts them right in the box seat to go through to the second round of the final series. And I think that is the path for Manly. In saying that, I've got a lot of things wrong this year with my tips. Last week I had a decent... I tipped Manly last week, and I also tipped, as you did, Shano, the Dolphins. So
yes.
I got a few back.
People laughed at me for that. They're like, Dolphins, really? I'm like...
Well, they laughed at
Who'd
Noah
they
when he
play?
told him there was going to be a flood as well.
Yeah.
That didn't go too well for them. So
They played the Broncos.
yeah, and it was a flood of tries last week. Yeah.
I was so happy. when Carrigan went over, I'm like, oh, and then all of a sudden, floodgates opened. Go on, mate.
I'm gonna have Sharks for this one. I think, I think Sharks can just win it against the Eels.
Well, they're gonna have to. If they don't show up,
if they don't show up, then
game over. Like, you might as well put a line through them for the finals. Like, you can play your regular season fine, but you really don't know how to shape up in football.
And I think week 27 is really what I think the start of the finals campaign.
Well, I picked the Sharks. Can I just say the guy with the biggest game here is Luke Brooks. Some of his games this year, the best he's brought this year has been outstanding. And if he can bring that best, well, geez, who knows what could happen. This is a game I'm actually itching for. The Newcastle Knights will take on the Redcliffe Dolphins. I don't care what anyone says, I'm calling them Redcliffe.
Yeah.
Newcastle Knights, Redcliffe Dolphins at McDonald Jones Stadium in Newcastle. Kyle McCarthy is out, but however, it's basically 1-17. However, you've got Jesse Bromwich. He's coming in, so that's big. Being the captain of the Dolphins, I think this is a massive game. I really do think this is huge. Hammer in the centres, Trey Fuller fullback, Herbie Farnworth on the other centre. Jack Bostock's been playing some great football. You got Bradman Best, Dane Gagai, Marju, Cogger, Crossland versus Arillo O'Sullivan. They're the four halves that you go, how are they where they are, but they are. Bradley Plath in at 9. I think, look, can I give a player a brief here, right? The guy that needs to look in the mirror and say, I'm just going to play the game of my life, Tavita Pangai Jr. If he wants to play final football this year with the Dolphins, this is where he stands up. I've got the Dolphins winning this one. It's not easy. It's not by any straightforward path, but any team that has the hammer, I just think that's the X factor they may need. Griff, what have you got?
This is a tough one to pick.
Huge.
And what a way to have the very last game of the regular season, which is going to determine
I agree.
Who will go on into the finals. So you
football gods are out there.
But I've been surprised that the Knights have played as well as they have. They haven't been quite as devastating as they were in the run to the finals last year, but it's been a smaller version of that. I didn't even consider them as a finals option going back 5 or 6 weeks. So credit to them, to the coaching staff there, and to the players for aiming up. I thought they were very unlucky not to get the 2 points at Shark Park, and that would have basically sealed their spot. But they got to fight for it against a Dolphins team who probably played one of, if not their best ever game last week up against Big Brother, the Broncos. If they play like that, then they will score more points than the Knights. The challenge is, can they back up what they did? Newcastle have improved their attack. Bradman Best, with the game under his belt, is going to be better. Ponga obviously was outstanding, and they've discovered a new, very, very good winger finisher in Fletcher Sharp, who is sharp by name and sharp by nature. Got a treble last week. I'm going to stick with the home team. They'll have massive support, as we saw last year, when I think it was a similar scenario that they had to win the game against the Raiders, I think it was, in the last round to ensure a spot in the 8. And they did that. It was a lot closer than people expected, but I think, again, this will be a tight one. I do think there'll be a lot of tries because both teams have some defensive frailties at times, but it makes for exciting rugby league. Mika.
I've got the Dolphins for this one. Fins up. I think. Well, this is to stay in the 8. Yeah, this is
it.
This is the game to win for them, and I think.
How much does the coach play into this? Bennett.
Yeah.
Wayne Bennett.
Massive.
Massive. Like if you're like, okay, if both sides were even, and then you said, okay, does the coaching staff play a part? Surely Bennett, being the coach, plays a part in this.
Bennett plays a big...
It did last week. He absolutely a knockout blow to
annihilated
the study. Yeah.
I think when you've got try scorers like Jermaine Asako and the Hammer, I think those two, they're always there with a try.
Well, that's it. that rounds out this week of Carpool Rugby League. This is it.
This
Last
is the
round.
week.
Next week we're talking finals.
Yep.
Next week we're talking finals. We might do our. We probably should have done it this week. We'll do it next week. We might do our report cards for semester 2.
Next week, yeah. When the semester's over.
Yeah, semester 2. We'll do our report cards. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to us. Great week ahead. This is it. By this time next week, we know who's playing finals football. We know where it's playing. We know where it's at. So, big week ahead. Griffo, Chameleon, thank you. Mika, thank you for being a part of it. Listeners, thank you for being a part of it. And I'll see you next week.
Thank you, and bye. And what a round of footy we've got ahead. Enjoy.
See you, everyone.